thanks for joining us for another episode of Tea and Trowels, the series from the Florida Public Archaeology Network, where we chat with archaeologists about their research and what archaeology means to them. I'm Emily Jane Murray, one of your hosts. And today I'm very excited to be joined by my colleague, Mal Fenn, who works down at our Southeast region office. Hi, Mal, how's it going?
Hello, MJ. It's going pretty good. How are you doing?
I'm surviving. Would you like to say anything else about yourself and then tell us about your mug, your teacup?
Sure. So I have been an archaeologist for 7 or 8 years now, and I've been working as a scientific illustrator for 10. Previous to FPAN, I bounced between museum projects and archaeological digs in CRM, cultural resource management, for those who are not familiar. Basically, private archaeology for real estate employs 80% of all archaeologists in the US. So I have somewhat of a holistic background when it comes to material culture. And I also went to art school. So I do a lot of visual art as well as video, filming, and editing. So very happy at FPAN, as you can imagine. And I think that's my whole shtick, my deal.
Teacup.
Oh, right. Yeah. So I love this thing. This is a vintage Foley teacup. I do not know how old it is. I have not Googled it at this time, but it was a Valentine's Day gift from my auntie, and it has pretty flowers on it, and it's a lovely mint color, which I am a fan of. And you know, it's important to have your pinky out as you do these things. So
very classy and elegant. I might have
that's me.
Say I brought a crazy bright festive floral mug here because you always have such great blazers, and you did not disappoint today either with that awesome blazer.
Thanks. That's a really good size for the amount of tea that you actually need to get through the day. This is just for show.
Yes. So what made you want to become an archaeologist?
So, you know, like every other archaeologist my age, I watched Indiana Jones as a kid and got really excited about it. But being a not particularly social nerd, I found, you know, reading about the cultures that were not so much featured as lampooned in the Indiana Jones movies to be way more interesting than the movies themselves. And I got really deep in it. My original career plan was to just, you know, study whatever in undergrad and then become a lawyer or something practical. But once I got into college at New College of Florida, one of the older students was like, you know, you can just be an archaeologist if you get your BA and go to field school. And I was like, you can just do that? And they were like, yeah. And so that spelled my fate.
I feel like that's the best kept secret of the field. You can just be an archaeologist. You can just do it.
For better or worse.
So tell us a little bit about your research.
So currently I am a master's student at Leicester University, based in the UK, after a, I believe, 6-year gap year. And I am doing heritage studies, which is basically English for public archaeology. So my thesis, if all goes well, will be about comparing FPAN's live outreach efforts to digital outreach efforts, especially in the first few months of COVID. So there's not too much research in this area, but there's more and more coming up all the time. So it's a pretty exciting developing field, and if all goes well, it's still early stages. We might get some really good, meaningful data that we can use in real life. So I'm really excited about that.
Yeah, I think we're all becoming experts in digital outreach now, which, you know, it's going to be some cool tools to keep using as we move forward. I think we've been able to like expand audiences in ways that we were unable to do. So definitely learning some good lessons during pandemic?
Yeah, as a very internet person, I've been able to like flex my digital outreach muscles a fair bit. Lots of failures, which are important and part of the process, but it's been a lot of failures for sure.
That's how you learn. So what's your favorite tool in your toolkit?
One of these seamstress tapes, because I previously would teach a lot of artifact illustration workshops, and because I sometimes do mapping and illustration as part of my FPAN duties, I try to keep one of these around all the time because they are very affordable. They're like $1, $3 at almost any drugstore. And they are also very great for working around delicate objects because they are very, bendy and soft and flexy. If I'm being very honest though, this is my pride and joy right here. If I can get this out of its little, yeah. This is my pride and joy right here because I love tiny versions of larger things. And if you're feeling more confident, if you have a really steady hand, this is somewhat okay to use when you're measuring objects. Yeah, it's on a little keychain, and it just brings me a lot of joy.
It makes you feel like you're a giant when you have tiny things. It's awesome. So do you have a best worst field story that you can now laugh about?
So it's not a field story per se, but it does sort of encapsulate the collections crisis that we as archaeologists contribute to rather intensely in museums. When I was in undergrad, I was fortunate enough to be able to do an internship at the South Florida Museum in Bradenton. If you hear my cat in the background, I'm sorry about that. She gets really testy this time of day. I'd had Florida Bright Futures. I was lucky enough to be able to volunteer a lot, so my college was mostly paid off from Florida Bright Futures. I was able to do this internship. And they knew that I could draw, and I had already done a project for one of the professors that I was working under. And so they were going to have me draw and catalog, I think, the talent collection, a bunch of pre-Columbian ceramics that the museum had. And it was really cool. They were really gorgeous. I was really excited to get started. But the night before my internship was going to start, a pickup truck dropped a cardboard box of 60 or so swords in the dead of night in front of the museum. And they were from all over the place. There was some like Masonic swords. There was like tourism, African throwing swords. There was a halberd. There was like just this really dizzying array of swords. So I showed up the next morning thinking like, gonna work with some pottery. This is my whole deal. This is gonna be great. And then they showed me this huge jumbled box of swords that were going all over the place. And they were like, so an unmarked van dropped off a huge cardboard box of swords last night. So this is your project now. And I was like, oh, time to be a swords expert. Sweet. And I made a little mini exhibit with some of the, tried to pull some kind of, can you hear my cat in the background? I can let her out. I'm going to let her out. I'm very sorry. She is the light of my life, but she's definitely very chaotic. Okay. So I did become a low-grade sword expert by the end of the internship, and I got to do exhibit design and interpretive text writing and a wee bit of exhibit fabrication and also collections care. for this very jumbled collection of weaponry. And, and if that isn't just like, if that isn't an encapsulation of the kind of stuff that we end up having to adapt to and figure out how to work with as archaeologists, I do not know what is.
That's so random. You hear the stories of people dropping boxes of ceramics or stone tools or things, but I've never heard of a random box of weaponry dumped off.
Yeah, no, swords. One of them was like a ceremonial Masonic sword, and there was one member of the Freemasons that I went to college with, and I like sat with him at lunch one day and was like, "Hey, so you're a Freemason. Do you want to like walk me through like what's on here?" And he was like, "I can't do that." And I was like, "Okay, man." I'm just gonna Google it.
Now I'm learning if I need a low-grade sword expert. I know who to call.
Fun fact: I can trace I learned that I had the research skill of tracing a souvenir African throwing sword to a West African factory where a bunch of them got made in like the 1830s. So a fun, cute skill that I have.
There we go. Well, we have our big question here for last. How do you think archaeology can help save the world?
A broader answer is that archaeology gives us a broader historic context. We're able to see what has worked and what hasn't worked, and we're able to see material evidence of that. And then we're also able to do ethnographic or anthropological archaeology and work with descendant communities to get more direct answers about that. Whether we do those specific projects or not, basically depends on how well we are able to decolonize archaeology and how much professional integrity we have. If we can if we can sort of, in my opinion, I think it depends on how well archaeologists can sort of change things for the better in terms of the foundations of archaeology being very, very colonialist, and how we can sort of bring that into the 21st century. I hope that makes sense.
Yeah, well, and we've come, what's the Virginia slums? We've come a long way, baby, but we still have some distance still to go.
I'm working on it.
Yeah. So lots of mistakes from the past, but once again, you can learn from them and learn what not to do and how to move forward working in partnership with people. So
yes. So I think that is key as far as how archaeology can save the world, personally.
Well, we have a bonus question. What's been keeping you sane? We'll just say lately.
Let me see if I can go get her. Hang on a second. This is, hey, come here. This is the light of my life. Her name is Beans. She does not want to be in this video, but she's gonna be in this video really quick. And she she is 3 years old and very soft and really likes murdering small bugs and string. That's what's keeping me sane.
Excellent. Yes, cats. Cats are crucial, man. My cat's definitely, definitely key. So
very important.
Well, awesome. Thanks to you for joining us, and thanks for Beans for making like special guest appearance there.
You're welcome.
And thanks to everyone who's watching along at home. We'll see you next time. Cheers.
Cheers.